Shri Vishnu. Shri Vishnu. Shri Vishnu. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam Dharma Sangstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam Dharma Sangstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam Dharma Sangstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam Dharma Sangstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Jannavallabha Jai Giridharadhari Jai Gopi Jannavallabha Jai Giridharadhari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Yashodanandana Vraja Jalaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tiravanachari 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 Yamuna
Sriman Narayana.
Jaya Sriman Narayana. Jaya Sriman Narayana.
Jaya Sriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vamsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Hari Om. Very good. Namaste, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with all of you today on this Sunday afternoon. What is afternoon for us here in the Vedic heartland in Omaha, Nebraska? Of course, we have people watching from all throughout the totality of our world. So, of course, it will be different times for you. Even in the United States, we have people on the East Coast, the West Coast, Mountain Time, Central Time, etc., etc. Welcome. And what we're going to be doing today is something truly special, and that is we are going to have a formal book release. Every time a book comes out from the International Sanatana Dharma Society, of course we tend to have a live stream, at least one live stream where we discuss the book, talk about it, etc. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And very specifically, the book that we're going to be talking about is a book that just came out, maybe 2 weeks ago or less, and it's entitled Be Strong. This is the book here, Be Strong, and indeed I'll be speaking about this book. I'll be reading passages from the book, etc. And let me tell you, this was a book that took me some time to write because I wanted it to be perfect. And from what I understand, from people who have read it thus far, they're very happy with it. People tend to be extremely happy with the contents of this book. And I'll be talking more about the book in just a very short time. Before I do that, of course, I just want to make a few very quick announcements. And that is several things. First of all, indeed, we're taking a little bit of a break from the Mukundamala Stotra in order to speak about Be Strong. Next week, we will be continuing with the Mukundamala Stotram of King Kulashekara. And again, as I've said in the past, I've debated with myself whether to stop at the 6th verse or just keep going until we complete the whole thing. We'll see, and I'll reveal that next week when we get together. But we will be continuing with the Mukunda Mala Stotra. The other thing I wanted to announce is, of course, that indeed this is going to be our very last live stream for this year. Because next Sunday we will be in a new year, and that would be 2026. And indeed, this new year, I'm hoping, certainly, of course, man proposes and God disposes, but I'm certainly hoping that this coming year is going to be a truly wondrous year in so many ways. 100% good? No, of course not. It will be good and bad, but mostly going in a very good direction, leading to indeed what I have been telling people for much of my life, what Prabhupada before me also discussed, what is discussed in the Vedic scriptures, what has been discussed, interestingly, even by people outside of the Vedic tradition, and that is that we are going to experience a golden age, whether people like it or not. How's that? You can believe a golden age is coming, or you can believe that it's just all made up. It's coming whether you like it or not. Indeed, there's nothing that we can do to stop this beautiful golden age that is about to come. But indeed, it will be coming. 2026 will be a very interesting time. I'll talk about that more as we enter into 2026. But this is indeed going to be the very last live stream that we will have for this year, 2025. And that being the case, since we're going to be entering a new year in less than a week, in just a matter of days, on Thursday actually, today being Sunday, I will, of course, be making my very last appeal to individuals on behalf of the fundraising campaign that we are now doing on behalf of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And I've said this many times before, others, we have spoken about the unique essence and the unique mission and the unique modus operandi of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And without repeating, just to state this in a nutshell, among all Vedic organizations upon the face of the earth, and no, I don't say this lightly, this is not a sectarian statement. I actually wish this was not the case. I wish other movements, Vedic movements, were to join us, hold hands literally with us, and do what we are doing. But unlike any other Vedic organization on the face of the earth, whatever they call themselves, we are the tip of the spear as far as reestablishing Dharma in our world. The International Sanatana Dharma Society. Are we a massive movement? Not yet. We will be. That's guaranteed. But we're not massive right now. We know our numbers. It's bigger than most people know. I am one of the few people, actually I'm the only person who knows the full extent of how big the ISDS actually is. It's bigger than people think. Oh, but it's not a massive movement. It's not the Catholic Church. It's not, some massive denomination. But nonetheless, we are indeed the tip of the spear as far as establishing Dharma in this world. We have done so through our books, through our live streams, through a vast array of projects that people are not even aware of behind the scenes, where indeed we have influenced society, we have influenced individuals in such a way that only I know the full extent. Even the top leaders of the ISDS actually don't fully know. And interestingly, even I don't fully know. But we have impacted this world already. As small as we are as a movement, that is only going to increase exponentially as this next year commences, as year after year after year goes on. And my goal, personally, as a person, is to continue what I'm doing for the next roughly 45 years. I'm not stopping. Nothing and no one is stopping me. I'll be doing this for roughly the next 45 years of my life. So indeed, we're going to impact this world in a massive way. That being the case, it is my duty to, as we're entering the new year, mention one more time that indeed we are in the midst of our year-end fundraising campaign, as we have done every single year since we've had this movement, which is quite some time now. And that being the case, we ask everyone who is out there very humbly and with great sincerity that if you have not already donated, please consider doing so. Please donate to the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And of course, it's nice for people in America, especially if you can donate before the 31st, because then, of course, it's a tax write-off, all these nice practical things. The truth of the matter is, if you want to donate extending into January, which with every campaign people tend to do, we keep getting donations even after January 1st, actually. That's been the case every single year without exception. People will give large donations extending deep into January. But still, of course, if you can donate as soon as possible, we would very greatly appreciate it. Again, the projects that we have in the ISDS are immense. They're important. They are what are establishing this Dharma nation, this Dharmic world that is about to come. So indeed, if you can donate $5, if you can donate 50, 500, 5,000, 5 million, it's become a running point of affectionate humor that I say that. But yes, whatever you can donate, please, now is the time in the next several days to please help the International Sanatana Dharma Society in every way that you can. What you do, very simply, you go to dharmacentral.com/fundraiser. That's it. You can donate online on there. Our physical address is also on there. So if you want to send a check, that is absolutely wonderful as well. The address is there for where you can send a check. And with that, again, my last serious appeal for 2025, I thank you for listening. I thank you for your patience. With that, what we're going to do now is speak about our latest book, the latest book of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And that book is indeed Be Strong. And let me say, as far as the cover is powerful. It's a little difficult, of course, to see. But if you go to Amazon, if you go to dharmacentral.com, you can see a close-up of the cover. And it is a powerful and truly beautiful cover. This cover was created by one of my dear students, one of my dear disciples, whose name is Keshava. And he is a master artist. This is what he does professionally. What he does for the ISDS, he does voluntarily, and it is truly amazing and wonderful of him that he creates such truly beautiful covers as this for free for the International Sanatana Dharma Society. So I thank Keshava very much for what he did in creating this beautiful cover. But let me tell you how this book came about, actually. The way that this book came about is that, several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I can never really remember exactly when, I decided to do a live stream. And it was not just a live stream. It was a very, very special live stream in which I didn't comment on Vedic verses. I didn't do anything like this. Rather, what I did was I gave a talk, a standalone talk on what it means to be strong. And it was a very practical talk. You can still find it. Feel free to look up Be Strong on our channel, and you'll see the video. And again, it was very practical where I explained quite a few things. I explained that, what inspired me to give the talk to begin with was the fact that here in the Omaha area, and specifically what is called Millard, there is a school district that's here. And several years ago, they began a campaign. And it was very simple, 2 words, be kind. Be kind, be kind. And it was indeed a very, very nice campaign. It was a very good message, a wonderful message, actually. But it got to the point where this message became omnipresent all throughout this area. You saw it on bumper stickers, you saw it on posters, you saw it on letterhead for the Millard School District, etc. And seeing this everywhere, I, of course, contemplated, what is the meaning of this? Be kind. And I thought to myself, that's a very nice slogan to have. But at the same time, I was thinking, is there not some underlying precondition that has to be there before a person even can be kind, be compassionate, etc., etc.? And as I contemplated this, I realized that, yes, there's a necessary precondition, and that is to be strong. Because what does it mean to be, quote-unquote, kind from a place of weakness? where you yourself are kind of fearful of everything. You yourself see yourself as a weak person, others see you as a weak person. Well, that being the case, when you then say, oh, be kind, it doesn't have very much effect. Why is this the case? Because people understand that you're being kind, quote unquote, for the wrong reason. It's so that people will think highly of you, think nice things of you, etc. So I began to realize what is the undercurrent, the foundation of actually even be kind. It was be strong. Because if an individual can have deep inner strength within, then all of these secondary attributes automatically come to the fore. So realizing this, but conjoined with the fact that today specifically, and again, this was a few years ago, so whenever it was, 2020, 2021, but now as well, this is an attribute that people desperately need to cultivate: strength. Why is this the case? Well, it's the case because, the vast majority of normal people, of real people, of actual people, not TV commentators who make up everything, not politicians who make up everything. No, real people on the street. Everyone understands that the hallmark of our age, meaning, the last 25, 30, 40 years, has been weakness. Everyone speaks about this ad nauseum. Everyone knows it, that indeed weak qualities have been encouraged in the media, in the educational system, on television, etc., etc. And that is to be weak in every way imaginable. And as a result, what do we have? We have a nation, and then of course, really by extension, the world. But let's just speak about America for now. We have a nation of individuals who are scared to death of asserting themselves in a healthy way. And more, of grasping more than anything, not just asserting without, but also grasping within that strength, that inherent strength that is there inside of them. People are scared to death of doing this, and even when they do want to, they don't know how. Rather, what do? Everyone looks around, they say, oh yeah, everything's become kind of fluffy and weak now, and we're missing strong people. We're missing strong leaders. We're missing strong individuals who are there to protect us, who are there to speak the truth, etc., etc. So this being the case, what we have seen was that this first speech, first talk, and then book was absolutely necessary to heal people, to make people strong again. And again, in both the speech, the talk, and in the book itself, I make it abundantly clear what I actually mean by strength, by being strong. What I mean by these terms are not the stereotypes that many people think of. What are the stereotypes? And again, I go in depth into this in the book. The stereotypes are, well, first of all, exclusively physical strength. Being strong means, yes, you go to the gym every day and you build muscles bigger than most people's heads, and you're very aggressive, very loudmouth, etc., etc. You push people around. That's what it means to be strong. No, that's a Hollywood, Bollywood stereotype. That does not exist outside, really, among intelligent people. That does not exist outside of Hollywood, outside of the media. Rather, intelligent people understand that what it means to be strong is precisely this. Number one, strength is something that first and foremost begins from inside who we are. It doesn't start from the external. It's not that, yes, you're a lousy individual. You go to the gym for 5 years and build muscles. Now you have plenty of muscles. Now you are a strong person in every single capacity of what you are. No, that's not how it works. It is actually the other way around. First, we begin by becoming strong individuals inside. What does that mean? That means that we become disciplined. That means we become focused. That means that we become, more than anything, individuals who are surrendered at the feet of God in such a way that we have the capacity to do whatever is necessary in order to serve God, and we allow nothing to stop us. More, it means that we never lose hope in ourselves, in God, in the goodness of this world, etc. So strength, real strength, first starts with who we are. It begins with accessing our true self, and it begins by surrendering at the feet of God. Now, this is the first thing to understand about true strength, which again, this part alone I go into all throughout the book. That's the primary theme of the book. The other thing to understand about what it means to be truly strong is that we are to be, as human persons, truly strong in every aspect of who we are. So again, the stereotype. And I've known such walking stereotypes, sadly, where you have someone who they go to the gym 5-6 days a week. And they just lift weights, and physically, oh yes, they're strong, they can lift a lot, they have massive muscles, etc. But they have not worked on any other aspect of who they are. They haven't worked on themselves as emotional beings, they haven't worked on themselves psychologically, they haven't worked on themselves intellectually, morally, etc. All that they have is a muscular body, and maybe the ability to pick up stuff that's heavier than other people can pick up. That's a nice talent, but it doesn't go that far, actually. Oh, I can only lift something 20 pounds. Well, I can do 30. Nice. God can lift a planet on his pinky. Compared to which, a person with physical strength alone really doesn't have much. Rather, what I speak about in Be Strong in the book is that we are to cultivate strength in every single aspect of who we are. Physically, oh yes, physically too. We are to become very strong. As people know, I practice what I preach. I go to the gym and I lift weights to the point where I'm 62 years old. And even with injuries that I acquired a dozen years ago, I can lift more than many people half my age as far as lifting weights in the gym. But why is this the case? Because indeed, we have to cultivate everything that we are. That means, yes, the physical. That also means emotionally we have to have strength. What does this mean? This means we have to have the ability to control our negative emotions and to revel in, take full spiritual advantage of positive emotions like love, like joy, like happiness in a sattvic sort of way. This means psychologically we have to heal our minds and have minds that are strong like steel. And what does this mean? Oh, this means have minds that are, again, under our complete control, where when we choose to focus on something, we have the ability to focus on something. We have to become strong intellectually. What does that mean? That means we have to build the muscles of logic that are there inherently as a part of the human intellect. And again, very practically, I have a section where I give practical exercises for how to do this. Morally, we are to be strong. This is, interestingly, an aspect of being strong that even a lot of semi-good philosophers don't really touch on a lot. They should a lot more. And that means that if we are fully in an integrated, balanced, holistic sort of way, if we are strong, that means also we are strong in our morality and our ethics. That is, that in everything we do, we veer always toward doing that which is good, both for ourselves and for others. And that which is bad, that which is harmful, etc., that which is unethical, we do not come close to. It does not exist in our lives. And that way we also are morally strong. And then, of course, spiritually. Oh, throughout the book, basically from page 1 of the introduction to the very end, I speak about what it means to be a strong spiritual individual. What it means to indeed incorporate all the other aspects that I just spoke of, where we have to build strength. Again, even the physical, the emotional, etc., etc., etc. But then we also have to use all that to then also become strong spiritually. What does this mean? This means to, of course, reduce our false ego, our ahankara, as much as possible, to rid ourselves of illusion, and to come to a place where we have self-realization. That is, we are accessing and we know and we live as our true self, Atman. But then, ultimately, even with that, surrendering who we are as Atman at the feet of Paramatman, of that Supreme Self, Bhagavan. So indeed, in this way, all throughout the book, I explain to people in a very systematic way how to become strong in all these individual areas of our life, but then how to integrate them in such a way that what are we at the end? We are someone who is incomparable. We are someone who, as the example that I've given before, we are like a living mountain. You encounter a mountain, you know this is something solid. This is something you cannot move just due to your whim. We as human beings, in the service of God, in the service of Dharma, we are to become also like living mountains. So indeed, that is what the book is about. Be strong. And let me tell you, just very practically, I have said this already, actually. We actually had a live stream on Friday. On Friday, we had a live stream to celebrate Holy Name Day. And even back then, actually, I confirmed this for everyone, what I always have to say about every new book we put out. Be Strong, thus far, is selling more copies than all of our other books now combined. So indeed, it's doing very well. It's extremely popular. We're already getting enormous feedback. Indeed, I even saw there was some feedback already here on the chat, on the live stream chat. So indeed, don't wait. Get your copy. Very simple. Go to Amazon, just Amazon.com, and do a search for Be Strong Acharya. You have to have Acharya in there because apparently there are several books with the same title, Be Strong. Well, this is the best of them. But if you want this one specifically, just do a search for Be Strong Acharya. And this will come up immediately. It's available on Kindle. It's available in soft cover. Soon, by the grace of Krishna, Prasada, we we will have it also in hardcover soon enough. So that is the book. All that being said, what I want to do now is I want to do a few readings from the book so that people will have just a little bit of a taste of what the book is like. So with that, if people will very kindly indulge me, again, we'll have some readings from Be Strong. First of all, we will begin with, this is from pages 17 to 18 of the book. So this is chapter 1. I'm skipping any readings from the introduction because I basically gave you a synopsis of the introduction to the book. But we're jumping to chapter 1 of the book. And it proceeds in this way. It starts first, the very book itself begins with a quote from Chanakya Pandita. And it is from Chanakya's Niti Shastra, and it is chapter 2, and it's verse 16, wherein he says, "A sage's strength is in his learning. A king's strength is in his army. An entrepreneur's strength is in his wealth. And a laborer's strength is in his attitude of service." So indeed, this is how the book begins, with this truly wonderful quote from Chanakya. And then the book begins. Now then is the time to inquire into the true nature of strength. And we continue. One of the best moments in a person's life is that instance in which a person has the realization that they now need to leave their previous life of fear and frailty behind, and to begin the process of embracing the storehouse of strength that lies naturally within them. The decision to cultivate strength in our life is ultimately a matter of deep personal choice, as is equally true when it comes to cultivating most of the positive personal qualities that we want to strive for. Becoming a strong individual begins with purposefully manifesting our will for personal excellence via our own free will choice. You can be strong if, and only if, you choose to be. If you truly desire to be strong and are willing to work as hard as is necessary toward becoming a stronger person, you truly can achieve the goal of greater strength and vitality in your life. This is the case wherever you currently find yourself in terms of personal potency. Whether you have convinced yourself of the falsehood that you have absolutely no strength to your character at present, or if you already possess some degree of strength, you can choose to manifest your inner resources of strength to a degree that may astonish you. If you are already very strong, but you want to be even stronger still, then the knowledge contained in be strong definitely applies to you. There is no reasonable limit to how much you can increase your personal strength. However strong you presently are, you can always be stronger still. Very good. So again, that's just a little snippet from the very first chapter. This is how the book begins. Now we're going to skip many, many, many pages and go to another chapter. I believe this is chapter 3 that we're looking at, where it does become very philosophical. For chapter 3, a little bit preceding, leading up to chapter 3, a little bit after chapter 3. But there is a section where indeed it becomes very, very philosophical, and we talk about divine ontology. We talk about very specifically what are the divine attributes of God, and indeed in a very deep sort of way. So this is now from page 53. God is that being who is the possessor of an infinite number of auspicious attributes that are in turn unfolded to an infinitely extensive degree in accordance with his desire. And let me just pause there for a second. That sentence right there is the definition of God. It's one of several, but for Vaishnavas especially, this is the definition of God, very specifically. Now let's go on. This is both one of the most accurate definitions of God, as well as descriptive of the intrinsic nature of God. Thus, God is a being who has auspicious divine attributes. How many divine attributes? An infinite number of divine attributes. And to what degree? An infinite degree. Such is the nature of God. Very good. And now let's go on to, again, we're going to skip many pages. We're going to now go to page 59. And this is pages 59 to 61. I'm not necessarily going to read all of this. It continues the more philosophical portion of the book. So I'm not going to read all of this. In fact, truthfully, I'm not going to read all of these notes. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what is in the book. So again, this is starting on page 59 now. There are a tremendous number of scriptural verses supporting the principle that our strength is sourced in God. As one example, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 11, Lord Sri Krishna, who is the avatar, the incarnation of Sriman Narayana, states about himself that, quote, I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire, unquote. This important verse explains that which is the source of our strength. Here, Lord Krishna is speaking directly about himself as the avatar, the incarnation of God. Being the avatar, Lord Krishna is speaking of himself as God because he is God. God confirms that he is the source of all positive attributes. And in this particular case, he is saying very specifically that he is the source of all strength. When Lord Krishna says, quote, I am the strength of the strong, unquote, it is to be understood that we find all positive and auspicious attributes first and foremost sourced in the personage of God. Moreover, because God has these positive attributes, therefore we share in those positive attributes, but to a more limited degree than God, because we are not God. Very nice. I'll read a little bit more of this actually, because this is quite nice. So I'll continue. In the second clause of this verse, he explains that he is the foundation of the strength of the strong, and that is specifically, quote, devoid of passion and desire, unquote. Krishna explains, in other words, that true strength is not simply the stereotypical idea of brute strength that is determined by, for example, how much weight you can lift in a gym. Krishna makes it quite clear that this is not the sort of strength that he is referring to. Rather, again, he says that, quote, I am the strength of the strong, and now in italicized, devoid of passion and desire, unquote. God is the strength of that individual who is spiritual, and who is thus devoid of passion and desire that arises from egoic lust and greed, respectively. That person who is devoid of material passion and desire is that person who has achieved self-mastery, which is the goal of the path of yoga and of all serious spiritual disciplines. To have true strength means, more than anything else, to possess strength within. It means to be a master of oneself. So very nice. All right, let's go on. I'm going to read just a little bit more from the book, actually. And in fact, as I said, I'm actually going to edit myself a little bit because I want to talk about several challenges that people have when it comes to being strong. So I'm going to skip quite a bit of this. And I'm going to talk about one thing that is an enormous challenge that people have when it comes to strength, and that is fear. Fear very often keeps us from manifesting our full force, our full strength, our full power in this world. And this is from much later in the book. This is from page 153, but let me read this. So fear. One of the most debilitating internal behaviors that saps our strength is the venomous emotion of fear. As discussed earlier, negative emotions are ultimately ephemeral, and thus very temporary in nature. They are to be combated to the maximal degree that we are capable of. This is especially the case with this most powerful of emotions known as fear. Even more so than such negative emotions as anger and depression, fear is the direct enemy of strength. The direct enemy of strength. The moment that we begin to fear either a person, a situation, or a possible future outcome that we think could end up being bad, almost automatically our strength is seemingly drained from our legs, and we often feel helpless and impotent. Fear attacks us within the deepest aspect of our psyches, screaming to us that our situation is, at that exact moment, completely hopeless, and that we have no other recourse but to immediately give up and submit helplessly to the very fear itself. Almost everyone has experienced the ravages of this most lethal nemesis of strength. Such thoughts, however, are nothing but a lie. Fear is a lie. Like all of the other factors that sap our strength, the curse of fear can be positively overcome. What are a few of the things that we fear? Well, some of us are afraid of failure, ridicule, and loss of reputation. Others are unduly anxious around other people and being in new social situations. There are also some who are afraid of such supernatural phenomena as ghosts, demonic metaphysical entities, places that are seemingly haunted, and other non-physical threats. Then there are those among us who cannot quite put their finger on what they are specifically afraid of, but who generally live their lives in fear of almost everything. Regardless of what is the particular instigator of our fear, we can and must overcome our fear if we want to develop full and abiding strength in our life. We were not created by the God of love, mercy, and grace to live in a state of torturous fear. On the contrary, Lord Krishna himself tells us in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, that we are not to fear at all. Ma shuchaha, Krishna states in the ancient Sanskrita, do not fear. Lord Krishna himself tells us, do not fear. We must know that we are never alone, but as God's sincere and dedicated devotee, God is always with us as our divine protector. With this clear understanding, how do we begin to eventually master fear in our lives? The most important change that we can implement in our lives is to rid ourselves of fear is to develop a mindset that is positive, optimistic, and as white-pilled as possible. Very good. Fear is the very opposite of this affirmative mindset. Fear is based upon being pessimistic about life. It is expecting the worst in challenging situations, feeling as if we are all alone in the world and without God's loving protection, operating in the illusion that we are not strong enough, not good enough, or able enough to end up successful in whatever situation we are currently facing. Instead of giving in to such pessimism, however, be white-pilled. Know without any doubt that we will triumph in any possible scenario that we find ourselves in. Such affirming and encouraging knowledge is the very cornerstone of fearlessness. We must unleash the spiritual dynamism of positive thinking in our minds, and we will overcome any feelings of fear that we may face, and we will experience strength instead. Very nice. And this section on fear actually goes on quite a bit. This is about a third of the section. As it goes on, I give more and more very positive exercises by which an individual can overcome this deep-seated fear that they may have within them. Very good. So with that, I'm going to stop there for now. We've covered quite a few nice little passages. Of course, this has been not even 10% of 10% of the book, because the book itself is almost 200 pages. But this is just to give you a little bit of a taste of what is in this book. Indeed, it is an empowering book. Let me tell you, the full title of the book, it's certainly called Be Strong, but there's a subtitle, The Vedic Guide to Self-Empowerment. And I've said this before, not even half jokingly, let's say 10% jokingly, but it's actually quite true. This is in a way the first self-help book. That's a word that's used too often. But this is the first self-help book put out by the ISDS. Of course, when we say self-help book, we mean truly a self-help book. This is a book which, if you read it, you will indeed have self-empowerment. This is not some new agey sort of just feel good sort of book. Oh, you'll feel good reading this. But it will give you actual philosophy. It will give you time-tested knowledge that is derived directly from the Vedic scriptures in order to indeed empower yourself in such a way that on every level of who you are, you will become strong. So indeed, that is the goal of the book. It's stated, all of it, all throughout, in a very positive way, in a very empowering sort of way. So indeed, if you want the inspiration to truly manifest all the good that is there within you, that you know is there within you, but maybe you haven't been able to bring out entirely. If that's what you want with your life, if you're tired of just life as usual, and you truly want to become everything that you know within you were born to be, this is the book that will help you with that. It is the book that will help you to indeed be strong in everything that you are. And then again, as I state within the book itself, not just become strong, but then dedicate all of that strength of who you are as a full integrated person, strong physically, strong emotionally, strong psychically, as far as your psyche, strong intellectually, strong as far as your sense of true identity, and strong spiritually. You will be able to take who you are and dedicate that strength to the service of God, which is why we are to build strength to begin with. Indeed, this is one of the central teachings of Sanatana Dharma. This is just as an interesting philosophical aside, because of course throughout the history of religion, interestingly, this is true not just for Sanatana Dharma, this is true for Christianity, several other religions. There has often been this debate, how do we grow spiritually? Do we just work on ourselves endlessly, and then kind of build ourselves toward knowing God? Or is it the opposite? It's just God's strength, God's grace alone. That is only as a result of the grace of God that we can know God. Well, of course, what Sanatana Dharma teaches us is that it's both. So indeed, we are to work on ourselves in every single way. This is why Sanatana Dharma is a religion of excellence. We believe in achieving excellence. And not comparing ourselves to others, interestingly. comparing ourselves to ourselves, and what is the maximum that we can become. You know, because every human has their specific limitations. What it means to achieve excellence is, come to the maximal degree of wonderfulness that you can as a person. Don't compare yourself to others. You become physically strong. No, don't compare yourself to someone half your age who's twice as big, etc., etc. No, become as healthy as you can. Become as emotionally stable and together and peaceful as you can, etc., etc. But then, once you have become the strongest person that you can become and have achieved excellence in every sector of your life, then you take that wonderful being who you are, and now you give. You give, you give. And what does that mean? First and foremost, you give to God. First and foremost, it means that you surrender who you now are as this strong person. You surrender that to God and to God's service. And more, in God's service, you also give to your fellow beings. So this is why we become strong. Not just so we can show off and think that we're mini gods now. Oh, you're not a mini god. We're not mini gods. No, you become strong so that then you can engage in service toward God and toward our fellow sentient beings. That is the message of our wonderful new book at almost 200 pages. Be strong. Everyone, as soon as this live stream is over, run out and get your own copy. Very good. And with that, let me check the time. We have time for a few questions. It's just a touch past 3 o'clock our time. So indeed, why don't we take a few questions? We can take questions either from anyone who is here in our temple. And let me say, for everyone who is here, thank you for making it here. People may not be aware of this. You can check the Weather Channel or whatever. The conditions are pretty bad out there, actually. It was very nice for days. It was like in the 50s, the 40s. But this morning specifically, we've had snow and ice. It's been extremely cold. So thank you to everybody who made it. One or two people could not, and for that reason, because it's just really bad out there. But indeed, if there are any questions, either from anyone here in our live audience or from anyone online, please feel free to now put your questions in the chat, and it will be my pleasure to answer. And again, the questions can be either about the book itself or about Sanatana Dharma in general. Yes, please.
Does the book talk about being strong in specific circumstances? Like, for example, having strength within relationships, or having strength within your career, or having strength within, I don't know, just like family dynamics or things like that? Does it address that?
It touches upon these things. It doesn't go very deeply into these things.
Okay.
Because that's going to be a different book in the future. Yeah, that's going to, and very specifically, not just strength in such things as you mentioned, relationships, but at some point in the future, I will be writing. It's in my queue, actually. I even have the title for it and everything. I forget when it's scheduled to come out, but I will be writing a book about Vedic teachings on relationships in general, and strength will certainly be one of the things I'll be talking about. But that will be a book that, interestingly, will be even more detailed, complex, etc., than this. Because the idea with this book is I was addressing the individual very specifically, and how the individual can become strong in all circumstances. Now, again, I do touch upon some of the things that you mentioned, but not to the point of breaking them down in a very systematic sort of way. And the reason why is because, again, once the individual becomes a strong person, and that, of course, in conjunction with, oh yes, I do mention this, in conjunction with their family, their friends, their communities, their nation, etc., etc. Once the person becomes strong, then, of course, becoming strong in a true way, meaning a spiritual way, of course, that makes everything better. That makes their career better. That makes their relationships with others better, etc. So I do, again, touch upon this, but for great detail, that's going to be a separate book where I'm going to be talking about all these things in a very practical way, and specifically relationship. Relationship. In fact, let me talk about that just a touch more. Like with Be Strong is both a practical book. Oh, but there's a lot of very deep philosophy in here as well, examining what is strength itself from a very philosophical perspective. I will be doing the same thing with my book on relationships from the Vedic perspective. It will be very practical, everything you've said. How does a person engage in positive relations at work, in their career, with their boss, with fellow co-workers, etc.? How do you engage in positive, healthy relationships? Of course, with your family, with your spouse, with your children, extended family, and on and on and on, like this. So, yeah, I will definitely be touching on these things in the other book in a very practical way, but I'm also going to be looking at what is the nature philosophically of relationship itself, and more relationship with God, very specifically, and what does it even mean to relate with God? See, this is one of the distinguishing attributes of philosophy versus just ideas. Ideas deal with everything. Philosophy, in addition, asks, well, what is the meaning of that? So there are a million books on relationships. Oh, how to have a strong marriage, how to have a good, strong relationship with your children, and on and on and on, where they're very practical. But where it becomes philosophical is when you ask, what is the very metaphysical foundation of what it means to relate? What does it mean for one conscious, subjective being to relate to another being who, to its phenomenological perspective, is an object, but shouldn't be? And then vice versa, and how to make both de-objectified, both interrelationally with other living beings, but also especially with God. That's what the book on relationship is going to touch on, very philosophically. So, does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Very good. That will be coming out. Again, I have to look at the queue. I don't remember exactly when I have it scheduled for. But there will be a book on the Vedic teachings on relationship. But good question. Thank you for asking that. And as I was answering your question, 200,000 more questions came in. Before I answer any more questions, I have to address someone personally on the chat. And very specifically, I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to say your handle here, Cosmic Frog 777. I'm very happy you're here. I need to speak with you. I know that you're on Discord, but I cannot remember what your handle is on there. Can you please contact either Krishna Prasada or one of the other moderators and remind them of who you are on Discord, and then at that point they'll tell me, and I would like to speak with you one-on-one on either Discord, Messenger, Zoom, whatever is available these days. Skype sadly doesn't exist anymore. But Cosmic Frog 777, when you have a chance, please contact one of the moderators on our Discord channel and just have them put you in contact with me. I want to speak with you. But that being said, now again, I'm going to look at these 279,000 questions and go through these. I want to go all the way to the top because I want to make sure I don't miss any good question. Very good. So give me a moment. Very good. Speaking of Cosmic Frog, all right, here's a two-part question. Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. Can you help to elucidate the nature of the relationship between the Tantric and Vedic traditions? How Tantra should be understood from a proper Dharmic perspective? And now let me go to the second part of your question, which I saw down here. Give me a moment. and why darker left-hand practices seem to be associated, at least allegedly, with Tantra? Excellent, excellent questions, actually. Well, this is something that I don't speak a lot about. It's not something I'd advertise. It may surprise people. But I've studied Tantra actually more deeply than almost anyone can understand. And when I say studied Tantra, I mean New Age, modern, sex magic sort of ideas don't even come into the purview of what I've studied. I've studied the actual thing, reading many of the Tantras and different Tantras actually. I've studied Tantric literature very, very in depth and in Sanskrit, and indeed one of my primary Sanskrit teachers, who was a wonderful German woman actually. She herself started studying Sanskrit when she was about 16 in German high school actually. And at the point that she was one of my teachers, she had been studying Sanskrit for like 30 years at least, maybe more. She herself translated Tantric works actually. So indeed, I know what I'm talking about. I've studied Tantra very, very specifically. And without going very deeply into all of the nuances of what is legitimate, illegitimate Tantra, etc., let me just say this in general. Indeed, this is the problem, is that much of what was introduced and, let's say, telescoped in the West when it comes to anything Vedic tends to be the more titillating things, the things that grab people's childlike imaginations and childish imaginations. This has been the case post-Vivekananda. You know, Vivekananda was the first Indian Swami, at least, to come to the West. Well, from that time up until now, Westerners always find themselves attracted to silly things. And as a result, those silly things, whereas traditionally they were scarcely even thought about among orthodox followers of Sanatana Dharma, now a lot of people think that, oh, these things are central to Sanatana Dharma. That is as a result of, again, Westerners and their interest in titillation, grabbing onto these things and expanding interest in them to the point where now even a lot of Indian Hindus are under the false impression that, oh yes, these things must be really big. Left-hand Tantra is one of these things. Throughout the totality of Sanatana Dharma, this is true pan-sampradayically. So in other words, all the sampradayas agree with this. This is true as far as, and this will surprise some people who think they know something, this is true as far as the Trimarga. This is true as far as Vaishnavas, Shaivas, and Shaktas. Yes, Shaktas too. There are orthodox, legitimate, very good Shaktas who are for real and who are good people. This is true for the totality of authentic Sanatana Dharma, and that is this, what I'm about to say. They all, with one voice, denounce what is called left-hand path. Now, of course, you wouldn't know that in the last 25 years because, as we've seen, a lot of what people think is reality is actually colored by the internet. The internet, and then a little bit before that as well, again, through books, again, Westerners finding this childish titillation with certain things. They will magnify something that was nothing beforehand. So as a result, people may not be aware of this. But again, it doesn't matter what your sampradaya is. It doesn't matter which of the paths you follow. Again, a traditional path, not something made up 50 years ago. Every voice is united in this, and that is when it comes to left-hand path, let's say, practices, they are considered black magic. They are considered demonic. This is what also is termed in the Sanskrita Asura Marga, that is the way, the path of the demons. And they are denounced. So there have always been individuals who misunderstood what Tantra was all about. They practice the quote-unquote 5 M's. You see, I know what I'm talking about. They practice all of these practices that are meant to show the silliness of virtue, of goodness, of morality, etc., etc. and to come to the point of a radical sort of oneness, a radical non-duality, to show that, oh no, we are living beyond the good and evil, morality is meaningless. We are so liberated to the point where, oh, when Krishna himself speaks about morality and ethics, oh, that's cute, but we're beyond Krishna. This is the silliness, the childlikeness of such individuals. This has always been denounced. This has always been denounced. That's why, when you read any of the actual Vedic scriptures, you don't find left-hand path practices anywhere. And trust me, I've read more scriptures than you who are listening to me right now. I've read them all. And you don't find people doing weird sexual orgies, taking drugs, having alcohol parties. This is what left-hand path people do. And this is denounced in the scriptures. It's denounced by all Orthodox Vedic practitioners, and it is not a part of Sanatana Dharma. Now, all that being said, indeed, positive Tantra, what's called Shveta Tantra, white Tantra sometimes it's called right-handed Tantra rather than left-handed Tantra, that's something that is very real, and it is Vedic. This is a mistake that people have made, and this has come from academia very specifically, where academicians, seeing that, oh, when you look at the totality of all these scriptures that are called quote-unquote tantric, you have some that are legitimate, that are very sattvic, but then mixed in are all these crazy left-hand path, black magic sort of things. Academicians, not being very smart in the 19th century, seeing things via an Abrahamic lens or an atheistic, proto-Marxist sort of lens, they just saw it all as one. So they themselves even understood, oh, there's the Vedic literature, which on the one hand extols virtue, but then there's this other weird literature, a few of the books of which seem to say the opposite. They must be at odds with each other. Again, it was a simple-minded sort of mistake that they made. No. Number one, when you look at the so-called tantric literature, those few works that are indeed works created by left-hand path individuals over the last several hundred years are not legitimate. They're not legitimate. Now, how can Acharyaji make such a statement? Very simple, because we have lists. See, it's amazing how people give away how little they know of Sanatana Dharma when they don't know such things. What are the legitimate Puranas? And if I say, oh, we know what they are. Oh, how could Acharyaji just say it? Because in the Puranas we have lists of what are considered authentic versus inauthentic Puranas. The same thing with the Upanishads. There's no speculation. We know the names of the 108 Upanishads, down to every single last one. This is true for the Pancharatras. This is true for the 4 Samhitas, etc., etc. It's not up to speculation. In the same way, there are legitimate lists within the Vedic scriptures and the Shveta Tantras themselves of what are the legitimate Tantras. And it's not up for speculation. If someone claims, well, but there's this other Tantra that says that, yes, you're supposed to sacrifice babies. Yeah. That is a Tantra that will not be in that legitimate list, that probably was written 18th century and probably in Bengal. Because that's where, sadly, many of the fake tantric literature, historically, that's where it arose. Because this path of left-hand path tantrism became very popular in Bengal, 17th, 18th, 19th century, to a lesser degree in Assam as well. So it's even geographically located as well, as far as where this left-hand path came from. So indeed, it's not something legitimate. When someone comes to you and they start speaking about left-hand path, understand that you're speaking to someone who is a sociopath, a narcissistic sociopath. You're not speaking to a spiritual person. It doesn't matter how they dress. It doesn't matter what they call themselves. It doesn't matter what name they made up for themselves. Oh, I'm Sri Kali Tantradas. Doesn't matter. You're talking to a narcissistic sociopath, and you're to stay away from such an individual. Now, again, there is legitimate Tantra. We know what those works are. It's not up for speculation. And those tantric literatures, the gist of the literatures, the essence of the literature, the mood of the literature is non-different from the Vedas. And it's considered to simply be an extension of Veda. Indeed, there are Vedic scriptures themselves where it lists, generally speaking, Tantra, for that matter, also Itihasa, for that matter, also Purana, as a fifth extension of Veda. So this is said in the Vedic scriptures. So again, the legitimate Tantras, the legitimate ones, are Vedic. The idea that they're not came about in the really early 19th century as a result of the confusion of Western scholars looking at this literature, not being able to discern which are actually sattvic, which are made up, and they're like 200, 300 years old. So that, I hope, answers the question thoroughly. Very good. Let's see if there are other questions here. Very good. Again, let me just go back. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Very nice. Here's a very nice comment, actually. I'm going to read this because it applies specifically to the book. Thank you very much, Acharyaji. I'm taking care of my terminally ill, sick mother, so I will need a lot of strength. I believe your book will be very helpful. Well, I'm very sorry to hear about your mother. That's terrible news, and I'm very, very sorry. And indeed, if it's helpful at all, I will say a very sincere prayer for your mother. You say she's terminally ill, so I will definitely say a prayer for her. And thank you for your nice comment. And indeed, I wish you all the strength that you need at this time, at this very challenging time. So thank you for your comment. Very good. And give me a moment. There were some other nice comments, actually. Give me a second to just look through this, because again, so many things have come in. Sure, this is a nice question that I will answer, actually, and it has to do specifically with the books that I'm going to be writing. And it is Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. If you don't mind, could you tell us about your upcoming works in 2026? Jaya Shri Guru. Yes, indeed. I'll tell you a few of the things, actually. So again, now that Be Strong is out, I am currently writing another, what's going to be much smaller book. This is 200 pages. We're going to be releasing a small book. It will be about 70 pages. It's going to be pretty small, actually. Maybe the smallest book we've put out. I forget how many pages Welcome to Sanatana Dharma is, but it's going to be comparable to that. And that book very specifically is called Meditations from the Temple of Iron, Weightlifting as a Spiritual Practice. And that's a book that, the second that I sent the PDF of my finished work, Be Strong, to be published, immediately I started writing the second book. And I've got a good amount of it written so far, about 40 pages of what's going to be about 70 pages. So it's going to be small. It's going to be a book of aphorisms in which I am going to be speaking about exactly what the title is, weightlifting from a truly spiritual perspective. And what this means is this, again, people, I've spoken about this. Several of my students have been to the gym with me, so they know I'm not making it up. I'm a serious weightlifter, meaning I go to the gym approximately 4 times a week, minimum actually, 4 times a week, and I lift weights. I don't do cardio. Now for the last month I've begun doing cardio again. Actually, I do the treadmill first for about 20 minutes. Yes, thank you. I had a good affirmation back there. Cardio is important too. But basically for an hour a day, 4 days a week, I lift weights. I use barbells, dumbbells, I use cable, I use a few machines if I have to, but I lift weights. But the way that I do this, of course, is absolutely dedicated to God. I don't lift weights in order to show off, impress anyone. I don't think there's anything about me physically or looks-wise that should impress anyone, actually. I do it so that I will be strong. And I do it, as I was saying before, so that I will be strong in every way so that I can dedicate that strength to God. And as a result of, a dozen years now straight of going to the gym, lifting weights, of course, when I'm there, I've had many, 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 many interesting realizations. So I began writing them down. It's, again, approximately 40 pages now. It will end up being about 70. of just different contemplative realizations that I've had in conjoining spiritual practice with specifically weightlifting. In the work, I talk about the history of weightlifting in Sanatana Dharma. People are not aware of this, that there is a history of weightlifting in Sanatana Dharma that goes back thousands of years. I document that. I talk about, what are the sorts of places where people lift weights historically in Sanatana Dharma. They are considered to be temples, interestingly. And that's how I came up with the term, which was my own term, actually, Temple of Iron. And it's not a term that I created. I've actually had a few people refer to gyms as the Temple of Iron, who, again, they take this spiritual approach. And what does that mean? It means that when you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, of course, first of all, your motivation is correct. You are lifting weights in such a way that you're doing it as karma yoga. You are dedicating everything that you're doing to God as a tapasya, as an austerity, because, for people who seriously lift weights, it's a tapasya. You begin to hurt, and you have to go through all of the behavioral challenges that you then do when you are doing tapasya. You have to be disciplined. Your mind is telling you, all right, stop here, and you make yourself keep going, etc., etc. But then also, in addition to weightlifting as a tapasya, doing weightlifting as an actual meditation, i.e. being fully present with what you're doing, bringing together that mind-body connection that must be there, coordinating lifting weights with breath, but also doing everything in silence, as much silence as possible. Again, quite a few of my students have been to the gym with me. I don't wear ear pods. I don't listen to music. I have my ears free. And what I do is I just become supremely aware of my breathing, of what I'm doing, of everything that's happening around me. And as much as possible, I focus on God. Internally, I'm even saying mantras as I'm lifting weights. Sometimes I'll have my eyes closed as I'm lifting weights. This has happened to me 100 times, that I'm doing a specific set. I'm doing bicep curls, something like this. And I'll be doing so in a very meditative sort of way. My eyes closed the entire time. And then finally I'm finished. And I open my eyes, and I'll open my eyes, and from the corner of my eyes, I'll see two muscular guys standing there just kind of staring at me. Just wondering, what is he doing? Why is he lifting like that? And indeed, this is what the book is about. How to lift weights in such a way that, you get the maximum health benefit, but also it becomes a spiritual exercise. So that is Meditations from the Temple of Iron. God willing, it will be available for purchase by late January, because again, I'm getting close to finishing with the writing portion of it. After that, immediately after that, will be Lord of the Rings, Dharma and Modernity. That will be the next book to come out. I've been working on this book for a little while, but again, I will be focusing on writing that book. And it will be the expansion of a talk that I gave by the exact same name that became one of our biggest videos. Actually, Lord of the Rings, Dharma and Modernity. Feel free to look up that video. One of my students very nicely transcribed that video, but I'm going to be expanding that tremendously to probably about 4 times the length of even the transcription, maybe 5-6 times. That will be the next book that will come out, and in addition to it being looking at Lord of the Rings from a Vedic perspective, but also in relation to modernity, so in a very practical way. What does Lord of the Rings have to teach us Vedically in such a way that we can now make sense of what's happening in the world around us? So it's going to be a unique book. But even physically, the book is going to be beautiful. The cover is going to be beautiful. It's going to have beautiful images inside the book as well that are being commissioned, actually. So that will be the book that comes out after that. The book that then comes out after that is the Vedic Encyclopedia. And this also is a book I've been working on for years, actually. And this will be exactly as it sounds. It's going to end up being 600 or 700 pages, hardcover. And it's going to be the definitive encyclopedia of Vedic terms, of Sanskrit terms. Some even popular terms, like dharma, like karma, but again, the definitive article length explanation of these terms, but also some terms that even people very conversant with Vedic philosophy have never heard, and yet which are important. that have been used by great acharyas in the past or that come from the Vedic scriptures, etc., but that are important. So I've hand selected all of these terms. And again, as soon as the other books are done, I will be focusing on that like a laser beam, and that's going to be about 700 pages. After that, I believe, will be the Vedic Catechism. I'm writing a Vedic Catechism. It's going to be a short book of 108 questions and answers, definitive answers. And it's meant for individuals who want to learn the basics of Sanatana Dharma, but in a catechism sort of form. So very systematic. The questions will be done in a very systematic sort of way, leading you to deeper, 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 deeper understanding of Sanatana Dharma. That's not going to be an enormous book. That also will be maybe 200, 250 pages. After that will be the Narada Bhakti Sutras, commentary, translation and commentary. As people know, I did a multi-part lecture series on the Narada Bhakti Sutras. No one has spoken as extensively or given as good a translation of the Narada Bhakti Sutras as was done with that series. I can't even remember how many videos it was, like 15, 16, something. Well, that also has been transcribed for me. I will be expanding that translation to the point where it will be infinitely better than even the videos. And as far as the videos, those are among the favorite videos of many, many people. To the point where this will be certainly the best, but it will be the longest, the most extensive commentary on the Narada Bhakti Sutras ever written in any language. This book will be about 500 pages of commentary on the Narada Bhakti Sutras. And on top of that, I've got a list of about 60 more titles in my queue. So indeed, before I leave this earth, I will be releasing dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of incomparable works, many of which will be translations and commentaries on Vedic scriptures, others of which will be on a wide variety of topics, all designed to help establish a Dharma civilization upon this earth. So thank you for asking that question. Very good. And at this point we're running a little bit late. I'll see if there's a question that I can answer very quickly just due to time. Actually, and I see that there are quite a few more questions here. Very good. Good. Janmayasya yataha. Janmayasya yataha. This is the answer to your question. Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. My humble obeisances at your feet. This may be a repeated question, but is there a precise definition of Bhagavan in the Vedic literature? First of all, as far as the word Bhagavan itself, indeed, Parashara Muni gives an absolute exact definition of the term Bhagavan as that being who has 6 opulences. That's in the Vishnu Purana. But more Vedantically speaking, Janmayasya yataha is a definition of God. That what is Brahman, what is God? God is that from whence proceeds all things. That fits only one being, and that is God. That is the absolute of necessity. And there are other definitions. Indeed, I even mention here that another definition given by Ramanuja, but also in the Puranas as well, is that what is God? God is the possessor of an infinite number of auspicious attributes unfolded to an infinite degree. You can only say that about God. So indeed, there are several definitions of Bhagavan. And as far as the term Bhagavan itself, yes, Vishnu Purana. Very good. So with that, let me just see if maybe there's another question I can answer very, very quickly. Very good. I see. Okay. Very wonderful books to look forward to. When will Curing the Poison of the Kali Yuga come out? That's not precisely how you stated it, but I understand that's what you're asking. That's another book that will be coming out. That probably, I'm guessing, will be in 2027. So it's not going to be coming out immediately, but that is another book that will be coming out. That will be another extremely philosophical work, Curing the Poison of the Kali Yuga. So that's my guesstimate, sometime in 2027. Very good. So with that, again, we're going to stop here because we are way over time. But I want to, before I leave, thank you all very, very much. I want to thank you all for your continued support of my work, of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And again, this will be the last time that I'll be saying this on a live stream for 2025. If you can find it within your heart to please donate something to the ISDS, it's something that would be very much appreciated and put to actual good work, good use. So indeed, if you would like to donate to the ISDS, please go to dharmacentral.com/fundraiser. The other thing, of course, is if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please feel free to do so. It's a very unique channel. As you can see, there is no channel like this anywhere on YouTube or any other venue whatsoever, any other social media. And that's putting it very lightly, actually. That's not braggadociousness. You know, you can feel free to find something as authentic as what we have to offer people. Please subscribe. Please like the video as well. That helps us tremendously. Please visit dharmacentral.com when you can. All of our books are available there, including the new one, Be Strong. You can go there. You can go to Amazon, and our books are available. Please, if you would like, also feel free to become a member, a monthly tithing member of the ISDS. That also can be done on dharmacentral.com, and I believe it's /membership. And you can become one of the many, 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 many members throughout the world of the ISDS. And with that, again, Be Strong, the book, and Be Strong you for this coming year. With that, everyone, namaste, and such that the gods can hear in Svarga. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Ramsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Victory, victory, victory to Sanatana Dharma. Evam bhavatu. May such victory be so. And with as much assurance as we can say that the sun will rise tomorrow, Dharma will be victorious. And everyone, I leave you with these words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, wherein he says, Ma shuchaha. Do not fear. And with that, everyone, namaste. I'll see you all in 2026.